Welcome to tonight's show. This is PEPP Story Live. And tonight we're talking about the introduction. Not the bit that you speak, but this is what somebody else says that can make or break the start of your speech. So we'll get into how you can make sure that that works for you. So, the introduction. Now, I talked last night, we were talking about the opening of your speech, and tonight it's really all about the introduction, and this is really where we need to get sorted out, because it's really important to make sure that you're given the right introduction, that you're set up so that the audience has the right expectations. This has gone badly wrong for me in so many occasions when I haven't thought it through and I've forgotten to send it. The thing is that someone's going to introduce you. Now, that isn't always the case. I've arrived sometimes and found that nobody's being set up to introduce me at all. Nobody's ready for it. Nobody's got a script. If I've sent one, it hasn't been handed on to them. And all of a sudden, there have been occasions when quite literally the person I thought was going to introduce me just sat down and said, okay, fine, over to you, and left me to do my own introduction. And that's probably not the best thing possible. I can do it, and often I've had to do it, but I'd far rather that somebody introduced me properly to the audience so that I'm handed over to them to say, hi, we've got this meeting, this is what we're going to talk about, and this is our speech. Is going to introduce you. If you've got a conference or such like, you will have a conference chair, or you'll have the organizer, the client may be doing it. And if you don't give them an introduction, they're going to have to write one for themselves. And the first thing they're going to do is go to your website. They will probably look at the biography, which you sent them as part of the program when you were negotiating to do the speech, or when they asked you to do the speech. Can you send us a little bio over to put into the pack? So you send over a bio. That biography might be just 50 words, but chances are it's a little bit longer, 150 words. How long does it want to be? Well, bear in mind that when somebody's speaking, it takes about 150 words per minute is the usual speaking speed. You don't want 150 words. You don't want a 1 minute introduction, because it might not, or 60 minutes or whatever it is, but 1 minute is a lot of information. Now, my biggest problem is that my bio contains information about me that I generally share in the speech. So I don't want to have the introducer, the host, the chair, basically give away some of the information which I had planned to talk about in my presentation, because all of a sudden it can't come as a surprise. There's no shock factor. I can't set the story up because the story's already, the punchline's already been told. It's like trying to tell a joke when somebody's already let everybody know the punchline. So these are the sorts of things you've got to be talking about. So we're looking at your introduction, and it's important that you write this, but you've got to bear in mind some important factors. It's going to be read out by somebody. Now, there is a huge difference between written text and spoken text. Comfortable, easy to use language. Don't get caught into writing something that's grammatically correct. It needs to be a clear, simple statement in spoken English. Get rid of all the big words. Bear in mind also, if someone's reading and they're reading it aloud, you don't want them to start stumbling over things. You don't want them to have words in there which they've got to think twice before they pronounce them. Yeah, it's a real skill newsreaders have to be able to read off an auto cue names of people in Africa and such like. So be careful. Avoid complex names. Avoid things which are going to be difficult. Remember, it just needs to be nice and simple. And keep it short. Really short. About 50 words. It's a paragraph. And I'm going to look a little bit more about some advice from a friend of mine, Jeremy Nicholas. I sent him an email yesterday because I'd been in a conversation a week ago, and he introduced his approach, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But the other thing is, write it out. Have a copy with you when you go to a meeting, if it's going to be at a meeting. If it's an online version, an online meeting, though, make sure you've got another copy that you can quickly send to somebody. If you're having a little chat before the show, when I go on to calls like on StreamYard, if I've got a guest coming on, they normally come about 5 or 10 minutes before the whole show, and we can have a little chat about anything I might need to say to introduce them. I tend to keep introductions very short. If somebody's going to do a presentation, then you might want a more formal introduction. In a chat type show where somebody's just coming on, I'm going to keep that probably to just a single sentence. So what I'm talking about at the moment is the slightly longer type of presentation where you're at face to face. You still need to make sure that you've got a simple introduction. Get it to them well in advance. Send it to them. Email it to them. Make sure they've got it. And then make sure when you go along, you take a copy with you, already typed out, already printed out, ready to just hand it to them if they haven't got it, if it wasn't passed on to the host, because that's what's happened to me. Somebody got it, forgot to pass it on, assumed the host would sort that out. Anything you can do to make it easier for the chair is better, which brings me to Jeremy. Jeremy Nicholas was a BBC broadcaster, now a public speaker. And he works a lot with the PSA in helping speakers to become a lot funnier in what they do. We have some banter about the funniness, but what I as an MC and host at various different meetings, he has to deal with the fact that speakers arrive and they haven't got an introduction, they haven't sorted out. So he's got a very, very simple formula. And this is it. He says 3 sentences and then the introduction. So let's have a look at it. The first sentence is, who are you, without your name? Not saying your name. So that's important that you don't give away the name. The name is the very last thing in the introduction. So who are you? So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of the way I might be introduced. This is the kind of thing that I will produce to send to a meeting planner and to take with me so that the meeting planner has it. So if I'm going to be talking about speaking, which is one of my primary topics, this is what it might say. Our speaker today is an award-winning speaker and founder of the Professional Speakers Association. Now, they're probably not going to know that information. I mean, they may know already. They've read the program, so then the speech is about your credibility, your sense. So that's the first bit there. Speaker today, award-winning speaker and founder of the Professional Speaking Association. Now, I do a lot of talks about transgender issues, transgender awareness, different speech. It's not relevant whether I'm founder of the Professional Speaker Association there. So what is relevant is our speaker today is a trans woman who changed her gender 20 years ago. So that's just a very simple thing that says this is a trans woman who's lived this experience for 20 years. So the audience now knows, all right, we're talking to somebody who's been there, lived it. Award-winning speaker, founder of the profession, it's somebody who knows it. So what I want to try and get across very quickly in that first sentence is that, I'm a credible speaker. And we're going to go a bit further into that. What am I going to talk about? Now, the sense of this here is we're trying to sell the speech. So I'm going to say an outstanding speech. That's a very simple thing. Oh, wow, that'll be interesting. If you're a speaker and if you've got some speeches to do, that'll be fascinating, useful perhaps. If it's about transgender today, she's going to share her experiences of the transgender journey and challenge us to rethink sex and gender. Oh. So, this is going to be a little bit about my story, and we're going to have some, look at gender in a different way. Just my way of doing it, okay? So, now, Our next final one is, why are you a person to listen to? So this is the third sentence in this introductory section. Why? Why should I? Why should you listen to me on this topic? Well, she is going to do this by exploring her PEPP story approach to public speaking, which is based on observing and analyzing the performance of top speakers over 30 years. Okay, so I've got a formula. Really saying to you, this is what you're going to get. This is the package you're going to get today. You want to stay around because this is going to be useful. What about if it's a transgender talk? And she's going to do this by exploring. Oops, I've got the wrong bit in there. So here we go. Her objective is to help us become more profitable by being more inclusive of trans and non-binary colleagues and customers. Okay, so that's the kind of message. If I'm working with a corporate organization, I want you to become a more profitable organization by basically being more inclusive of trans and non-binary people. Because if you push them away, so that's the story you're going to get. So do you see how we're putting this together in a simple thing? And finally, we get to introduce by name. So finally, please welcome Ricky Arundel. So that's the basis of the introduction. His approach to this. You'll find Jeremy's details at the bottom, jeremynicholas.co.uk, if you want to find more about Jeremy. This is a very simple approach. It's about 50, 60 words, or maybe slightly over there, but it's going to be less than 30 seconds as an introduction. And that's what you want to achieve. Short, precise introduction, tells the audience who I am, what you're going to expect about them. You get my name. Remember, I said you got to remember my message. Remember, take action. Remember my name. I'm already setting that up within that introduction because my message is coming across. And that's what you got to think about within those three sentences. Yeah, your objective is there. I'm going to, and that was in the beginning of that, I'm going to share experience of a transgender journey and help challengers to rethink sex and gender. But the most important bit there was non-binary colleagues and customers. That's my goal. That's what I'm there to try and achieve. I'm going to help you to create, outstanding speech, turn every speech into an outstanding speech. There's my goal. That's my objective. That's the message I'm coming across. You can become an outstanding speaker. So do you see how we're getting a simple message, simple ideas across? Everything is now going to be focused around that. So my speech is going to be about fulfilling the expectation that the introduction has now set up. So bear that in mind. The introduction is part of your speech. You have to write it in a way that somebody can deliver it well, make it simple, clear, easy. Don't make it difficult. Don't make it embarrassing for them. Don't try and turn them into comedians or anything. It's a simple, straightforward thing that sets you up in the way you want to be. So when you come to it, what you don't want is them trying to do that job for you, being very funny, trying to be too funny. Had that one as well. The last thing you want. Okay, I shall look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Don't forget, if you need some help in putting the speech together, getting your own introduction sorted out, I'm more than happy to help you. Just drop me a line at ricky@rickyarundel.com, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you, and we can arrange a free 30-minute introductory session to see whether my coaching and style of coaching will be helpful to you. There we go. Join me tomorrow for this is day 12. Join me tomorrow for day 13. 31 days we're heading, and we're nearly halfway there. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and I hope you found this useful in helping you to get your speeches better. Take care.